Hey socialists, happy 1 year into the pandemic. I'm coming here today to talk to you about shoulders. I want to show you a couple different examples on how to measure an across shoulder on 3 different patterns. They're all set in sleeves, but all different construction types, so you'll see what I mean when I get into it. All right, so for ease of looking at the shoulders, I'm going to be measuring on pattern paper, and you can see that I've marked a line here for my center front and center back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align my pattern pieces to the center front and center back line, and then I'll be able to easily measure out across to where the shoulder point is. All right, first pattern. So this guy is this yellow top. I'm just measuring what I have on hand in my house for you. I have to take this whole thing apart and find out what's what. Sleeve, facing. I don't know about you guys, but I like to organize my patterns on pattern hooks and then just hang them in the closet. I know people have many different ways of organizing. This is my fave, just to keep everything flat and out of the way. All right, so I don't need the facing pieces. I'm gonna take my front, I'm gonna take my back, and the reason I brought this out as an example is because it has a back yoke piece. I'm going to mark my seam line in yellow on all of these pieces so we can easily match them up and just make sure we are placing everything correctly to measure. So this guy is a 5/8 of an inch. Am I measuring this correctly? Hard to see. Yep, there we go. Nicely trued this pattern. Let me just double check that I didn't do that one 1/2 inch. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I did. It's my wishful thinking. All right, so now that we have those seam lines, I'm just gonna match it up like this. Here we go. So this is for my back. I'm just gonna tape this together real quick for the purposes of this exploration. And then from the front, we do the same thing. So it's a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Mark it again in yellow so we can see what we need to be doing here. All right, and this guy is cut on the fold on the front and the back, which is good. So how am I going to align this, you ask? I'm going to flip one side over so the center front and center back are aligning. I'm gonna flip this. Oh, I forgot to do this one. All right. Looks like I already marked it in pencil, but I'm not gonna be able to see that, so. Up. And then on this side, you can fold this if it makes it easier. Just so you can see how this is going to line up here. And then again, I'm just gonna tape this real quick for the purposes of our measuring project. But I'm aligning my center front and center back here. This one has kind of a deeper U neck. And I did lengthen my front to be longer than the back. So I'm just gonna fold this at the shoulder line. And then again, I'm going to mark that seam line so we can measure to our shoulder point. I'm going to do this on this side just so I have it. And then on the back, because this is the side that I'm actually measuring to. So that's that seam line at my shoulder point. So I'm going to pop this right up to my center front, center back. Let me move this down so you can see it a little bit better. So here's my shoulder slope. I'm going to take a ruler, flip it so I can read the numbers. That will work much better. And I am getting 7 3/8. But that's not it. We have to multiply that by 2 to get the total cross shoulder measurement. So we're looking at 14 3/4 of an inch cross shoulder for this particular style. So that's how you would measure it on a style with a back yoke. You really just want to make sure all the pieces are connected, joining at the seam lines, so that way you can get a better picture of what measurement you're working with here. So on this particular style, I know that my cross shoulder is 15 1/4. This is 14 3/4. This has a super wide and low neckline and it'll probably stretch out a little bit. So I'm going to use my best judgment, having already made this, and say this is probably fine for a cross shoulder measurement for me. Next up, a Wixton Baby Shift. So the interesting thing about this guy is it does not have a side seam. It has a side panel and then a front and a back panel. This guy only has 3/8 of an inch seam allowances. So let me get ready and mark them and tape everything together and get all the folding done. All right, so this guy, you'll see that this is measured up at the center front, but the back has a fold over at the center back, so that's why that's not at the line. This guy, from my shoulder point to the center front, center back line, is 5. I'm going to call that 5.5. So again, 5.5 times 2 equals 11-inch cross shoulder for this style. So again, you're just taping together all the pieces so you can get that cross shoulder measurement here. That's essentially what we're doing for all of these. I just wanted to provide an example of different types of things so it's not quite so intimidating. This last example is a folk wear pattern with a yoke, a no shoulder seam. So you'll see here that this is marked shoulder. So when you're looking at the pattern, this way is the front and this way is the back. So if I wanted to measure that cross shoulder, you can fold it here and you can easily see your center front and center back are here. It's up here, like so. And you can flip this. You don't even need to put this up to the line. You could just measure straight across because this is pretty squared. So on this guy, let's not forget our seam allowances. So from my shoulder point to center front, center back, we're going to call this 9 5/8. So 9 5/8 times 2 equals, what is that? 19 1/4. So this is pretty dropped for a shoulder. In conclusion, that is how you would measure in a cross shoulder on a variety of different styles. I think the most important thing here is don't forget to mark your seam lines like I was doing. And the other thing is that you're always doubling to find that total cross shoulder measurement. So again, it depends on the style. For something like a traditional set-in sleeve, I wouldn't vary more than a 1/4 inch in either direction from what your body measurement is for the start of a good muslin. However, if it's something like a drop shoulder or more fashion style, you can use your best judgment. And your tool here is probably going to be looking at the sketch of the pattern on the pattern envelope or on the website. You can also search the hashtag to see if it's kind of more of a droppy kind of shoulder. And then next time we'll talk about raglans, because I think a lot of what people don't understand about shoulders is that we still have to take into consideration the upper part here, which can kind of bleed into bicep armhole territory, and the idea of using the shoulder girth to help facilitate mobility.